this title? What was the motivation behind this? Okay, just the guest a general glimpse about your research area and your title selection.
Uh, my title is Sir Historical Development and Foreign Policy of India, Special Policies with China from 1960 AD to present period. Okay.
From 1960 AD to present period. What was the why you had choose this title?
Uh, Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah, why you picked this title?
Why did you choose the title?
Yes.
The title was chosen based on importance of understanding the dynamics of the Sino-Indian relations and the impact of various factors of these relations.
So have you any prior idea about the relations between Indo and China?
Yes, sir. The significance of study lies in analysis of involving power of dynamics in Indian Oceans region and implications for regional stability. Personally, the motivation for choosing this.
So you just cover only historical development and foreign policy of India.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, move ahead.
Okay.
Next slide.
Sir. Yes. Hello.
Yes, yes, continue.
Introduction. India's foreign policy has evolved significantly since its independence 1947. This thesis examines the historical development of India's foreign policy with a special focus on its policies towards China from 1960 to present. Okay, sir.
Yes,
It
go ahead.
analyzes, hello.
Yes, yes, continue. I'm listening.
Okay, it analyzes key events, diplomatic uh, negotiations, border disputes, trade relations, and other issues, Indian-China relations. And opportunity that define India's foreign policy towards China in a rapidly changing world. Uh, since gaining independence in 1947, India followed a non-aligned policy during the Cold War era, post-Cold War era. Cold War era maintained naturally despite global pressures. Post-Cold War shift to a pragmatic, economic focused approach. Indian foreign policy priorities peaceful relations, economic growth, and regional cooperation. Historical background. Before independence, British rule controlled India's global relations. Post 1947, India engaged actively in global affairs, drawing from ancient principles, Kautilya's Arthashastra, diplomacy, and analyze. Modern challenge.
Alliance. Alliance. Diplomacy and alliance.
Alliance. Okay. Alliance. Modern challenge balancing relations with global powers. Key aspects of India's distance rule, strategic, naturally, conflict, diplomacy.
Neutrality.
Yes, sir.
Neutrality.
Neutrality in conflicts. Diplomacy, driven neighbor relations, non-aggressions, and ethical governance. Economic and cultural global cooperation. Purpose of the Indian foreign policy: global peace, stability, Panchashil principles, ASEAN cooperation, Commonwealth relations, United Nations support, disarmament, new world economic order.
The punch seal just take a back slide.
Okay, 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 sir.
Other part, as compared to others, the point number two, the punch seal principle.
Yes.
This punch seal principle India had adopted against China only, and they have a treaty between India and China. There is the MOU between India and China on the punch seal principle. Okay, the
Okay, okay.
peaceful coexistence. But you are writing it's the Indian one of the point of the foreign policy. That is not correct. The global stability and the peace, it is the first point, okay. Asian cooperation, it is okay. Then the Commonwealth relation, it is okay. Supports in UN inside and outside, it's okay. Okay. The new
Okay.
world economic order, it's okay. But the point number two, you have to be shifted to the only with the relation with China.
Because my title specially focus on
Yes, that's on the China, and this point is relevant to the China. Come to the
yes, yes, sir.
right.
Yes, yes, sir. Non-aggressions in equality and peaceful coexistence with Panchashil principles.
Okay, आगे चलिए.
India's foreign policy evolution post-independence, Nehru's focus on non-alignment, democracy and global peace. Post-Cold War, shift to strategic partnerships aimed rising terrorism and globalizations. Indian-China relations friendly post-independence, but worsened over Tibet and border disputes. 92 wars, 1962 wars. Diplomatic uh, normalizations in 1970s resumed talks on borders disputes. Sino-Indian border negotiations 1981 to 1988.
Negotiation.
Hello.
It is It is
Yes, sir.
negotiation.
Sorry. Negotiations. Talks developments shift from board agreements to sector-wise negotiations. Rajiv Gandhi's 1988 visit renewed diplomatic efforts, easing tensions.
Uh,
Okay.
Nilendu ji, Nilendu
Yes.
ji.
Yes. Huh.
PPT is just for reference.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, you understand? Here,
Uh,
these points
yes,
are
sir.
mentioned that just not you have to read these points, you have to explain.
Yes.
For
Yes.
example, if you are on this page, Indian foreign policy evaluation. The post independence, how Nehru was aligned to neutrality principle of the country and how the democracy of the country and how they establish India in a global scenario with a
Acha.
pre country and all other things.
Acha.
The India orientation toward British era, Indian orientation to sorry Britishers and Indian orientation toward the Russia, Indian orientation toward China, and that's you have to be after post Cold War. What type of strategic shift was there? How the India-China relationship after 1947 was built, and what happened in 1962? That's why the reason we have to reassure the relation with China
Acha.
and what India did for that, that you have to discuss. Okay, why India required to India Indo-Sino border negotiation? Why? What was the reason that the things may have what happened? There was the reason that China in 1970 during the when the 1962 when the China come to and acquired Assam, and then by the act of Indian government and involvement of UN, United Nations, how India regained the Assam region. You have to give these points. You have to explain these things.
Acha.
Okay, you have to
Hello.
explain these things. Otherwise, it is just a reading all those things. It will not making any sense.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, you have to make a ground in your introduction what exactly your research is. What was the motivation of doing this research? I ask you very simple question: why you pick this title? You was not explained that properly.
अच्छा.
There must be a reason for the selection of title. You have to explain that. How you incline toward this particular subject. There, you are a student of history, and particularly you are covering the modern history of India, and a
हाँ.
specific privilege you are giving to the Indo-China relation.
Hmm.
And the why it is important to study Indo-China relation as a part of your history and how it will help in future. That is most important thing that you have to establish.
अच्छा.
As China is our neighbor, and we have to work out lots of issues with them, and how this historical paradigm may help you to be solved out of this. Hello.
Hello, 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 sir.
You have to manage to explain those things first.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
move
sir.
ahead. Just don't read. Okay, just explain me the things.
Okay.
Now, what are the objective to do this study? To did this study?
Hello.
What was your objective to conducted this research?
To understand India's historical progression as an idea. Okay. Uh, Historical idea means, sir. Hello.
Yes, 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 I am listening. You had identified the four objectives. First is to understand the Indian historical progression as an idea. You
Idea.
want to develop an idea that is your primary objective, that how Indian foreign policy after 1947 progress with respect to world, with respect to its neighbor, and specifically with respect to China. You want to identify the what is the key idea, idealization, and the what is the key way that Indian foreign policy or Indian government had did to maintain their relation in past in terms with respect to the foreign relations. That is the first thing. To analyze
अच्छा.
the India's evolving distance rules within the institutional framework, how India manage its relations with its counterpart across the globe, specifically with the China and its other neighbor, and in terms of various institutional framework. Third point is to examine the diplomatic stances toward the China post 1960. After 1960, after the war with the China, there was a lots of changes have been made, and because of that, how India maintained its diplomatic and political relationship with China as a part of its foreign policy. Now, the main the purpose and strategies measure to improving the Indian foreign relation. I did this research for understanding what measures should Indian government have to take, or we as the people of India have to take to maintain a good relationship with the China. That is fruitful for our country without losing the sovereignty of our country, without losing our land of a country, without losing our respect, our position in the global as a global partner. So these are your four objectives that you have to explain as I explained you.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay, move ahead. How you identified these or how you create these four objectives? What was the method to idea generation of these objectives?
Historical method, sir.
आपने ये ऑब्जेक्टिव कैसे फ्रेमवर्क करा इनका, यही आपके चार ऑब्जेक्टिव रहेंगे.
अच्छा.
चलिए आगे चलिए.
Review related literature, sir.
क्या है लिटरेचर रिव्यू, समझाइए। कितने पेपर आपने रिव्यू करे अपने पूरे थीसिस में? टोटल कितने पेपर आपने रिव्यू करे?
देखो तो नहीं है।
नीलेंदु जी, यहाँ पर तो गिनती के कुछ पेपर दिखाते हैं। मैंने पूछा आपने अपनी थीसिस में टोटल कितने पेपर रिव्यू करे?
टोटल
पेपर
कितना?
यू हैव रीड अप्रोक्सीमेटली 100, 200, 500 कितने पेपर पढ़े आपने?
हाँ, पेपर सर, पेपर था 190 था।
190 के आसपास पेपर आपने पढ़े?
हाँ।
ओके, तो सारे के सारे पेपर इंडो चाइना रिलेशन पे थे या इंडियन फॉरेन पॉलिसी पे थे?
नहीं, सारे के सारे पेपर नहीं था उसका, कुछ है।
अदर्स ऑर्थर ने इंडो चाइना रिलेशंस के रिस्पेक्ट में क्या लिखा है? What are the general perception amongst others researcher, basically who are doing research as a history professor or history researcher, what they are think about Indo-China relation? आप ये फोन को बार बार हिला क्यों रहे हैं?
हेलो सर, हेलो।
फोन को बार बार टिल्ट मत कीजिए ना, एक जैसा पकड़ के रखिए।
हाँ सर, हाँ।
आपने यहाँ पे बेस पेपर दिखाया है, 2020 में पब्लिश हुआ पेपर है आनंद यू के द्वारा, इंडिया साउथ एशिया पॉलिसी, बायलैटरलिज्म, मल्टीलैटरलिज्म एंड द रोल ऑफ रीजनल पावर्स, साउथ एशियन एशियन पॉलिटिकल रिव्यू में पेपर था।
हाँ सर।
इससे आपको क्या मिला? What this paper, how it paper related to your research topic?
Evaluates in the diplomatic strategies, comparing bilateral and multilateral approach.
What is the bilateral and multilateral approach? What is bilateral and multilateral approach? And how it is beneficiary for your study as a point relation with the China? ये पेपर आपने जो पहले लिखा है ये आपकी रिसर्च के लिए क्यों इम्पोर्टेंट है? आपने बोला ये आपका बेस पेपर है।
हाँ, हाँ सर।
तो बेस पेपर है मतलब आपने इसमें से क्या चीज निकाला है, क्या मेथोडोलॉजी इसकी लिया है, क्या लिया है, क्यों बोल रहे हैं आप ये आपका बेस पेपर है?
क्योंकि इंडिया चाइना का जो फॉरेन पॉलिसी है वहाँ पे सब कुछ है, रीजनल पार्ट से लेकर जो भी है सब कुछ है।
ये तो साउथ एशिया की पूरी बात कर रहा है। साउथ एशिया में कौन कौन से नेशंस आते हैं? साउथ एशिया में चाइना आता है, नहीं आता है?
चाइना आता है सर, चाइना आता है।
जापान एशिया में अफगानिस्तान, नेपाल, इंडिया, भूटान, मालदीव, पाकिस्तान, श्रीलंका आते हैं, चाइना नहीं आता है।
चाइना नहीं आता है।
और आपका पहला बेस पेपर जो है जो आप लिख रहे हो वो पहला बेस पेपर आपने साउथ एशिया पॉलिसी पे लिखा है।
हाँ।
सेकंड आपने लिखा असेसिंग द एफिशिएंसी ऑफ इंडियन सिस्टम ऑफ रिमोट रूल्स qualitative assessment of Indian Foreign Service and Ministry of External Affairs. तो ये तो सोशल साइंस का पेपर है, इसका हिस्ट्री से क्या लेना देना? इट इज द रिलेटेड टू ब्यूरोक्रेसी.
Dep-
तो फिर ये
can
आपका
give
बेस पेपर कैसे बना? And it is the general paper, it is the general information regarding the overall Indian policy,
अच्छा
overall Indian foreign policies with reference to the bureaucracy, Indian foreign services. Definitely there must be a point that indicate the bureaucracy and its functionality toward China as well.
अच्छा bureaucracy.
But how it is aligned with your subject or your research? Explain that. Nilendu ji, have you read your complete thesis?
Read sir.
You had read out. Okay, next slide.
Paper
नीलेंद्र जी,
sir.
जब भी पूछा जाता है बेस पेपर के बारे में, अभी ये आपके और बेस पेपर आ गए. तो वी आर टेकिंग बेस पेपर टू एक्सटेंड देयर वर्क और देयर रिसर्च और यूज देयर रिसर्च इन योर वर्क. दो पर्पस होते हैं. पहला, उनके काम को इस्तेमाल करना या आगे बढ़ाना. तो दूसरा,
अच्छा
उनने कोई रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी बनाई है, कोई तरीका बनाया है, उसको अपने वर्क में यूज करना.
अच्छा
ठीक है. तो
ठीक
अब
है
आप
सर.
यहाँ पर जो पेपर्स लाइन अप करे हुए हैं, नेक्स्ट द ब्लैक बॉक्स ऑफ इंडियन रिमोट रूल, द ब्यूरोक्रेसी मशीनरी, इंटरनल पॉलिटिक्स एंड एकेडमिक स्टडीज. नेक्स्ट आपने रखा है डिस्टेंस रूल, अ की फॉर द नेशनल इंटरेस्ट जनरल. ये सारे आपने जनरल पेपर ले डाले हैं. साउथ एशियन सॉरी इंडियन पॉलिसी टुवर्ड चाइना तो एक भी पेपर नहीं इन चारों पांचों पेपर में. आगे चलिए. Ancient Indian texts and their influence on the contemporary foreign policy. Evaluation of development initially historical context to the present India, present state in India. Next, आगे चलिए. Now here you are giving the India-Myanmar relationship. आपने पीपीटी खुद नहीं देखा अभी तक.
Hello sir.
Have you gone through your PPT? How you justified that these are your base papers? It may be your literature paper, but it's not base paper. Your base paper should be directed toward Indian foreign policy, toward China only. The selection of base paper, what you are reflecting here, is 100% wrong. Next, explain your research methodology.
The study historical method is used to examine key events, policy decisions that shaped India's foreign policy over 6 decades. The research focus on crucial milestones that influence diplomatic relations.
You are writing that up to 2020 you had maintained here. But in your title, you are saying you are working between 1960 to the present. Why it is so? Why this difference is there? अगर 1960 से 1920 आप बात कर रहे हो तो आपको अपने टाइटल में भी 1960 से 1920 रखना चाहिए ना, या यहाँ पर सही करिए। चलिए बताइए। आपकी रिसर्च डिजाइन क्या थी? क्वालिटेटिव रिसर्च थी या क्वांटिटेटिव रिसर्च थी?
डिस्क्रिप्टिव रिसर्च सर।
डिस्क्रिप्टिव रिसर्च था। क्या किया आपने? एक्सप्लेन कीजिए।
Descriptive method is employed. ये systematically present and interrupt India's diplomatic engagement, strategic and international relations with China by analyzing primary and secondary data. The study aims to provide the comprehensive understanding of Indian involving geopolitical stance. Primary source official government documents on foreign policies with China. Speech and writing of Indian leaders, parliamentary debates, party documents of official statesmen. Secondary source, scholarly books and research paper on India's foreign policy. Newspaper reports, editorials, and features articles discussing Indian China policy.
Yes, explain there.
Hello.
Yes, explain why you are stop.
Uh, the Tibetan conflict and Indian influence. Tibetan conflict escalated tensions between India and China. Initially focused on efforts, but was accused by China of supporting Tibet rebels. March 1959, Indian lawmakers condemned these claims. While Nehru, India's culture ties with Tibet, but upheld China's uh, suzerainty. Parliamentary relations, reaction, political debates. Chinese accusations lead to intense parliamentary debates. Opposition leaders demands a strong response, while Nehru's government maintained diplomatic restraint under the Panchashila regime. The CPI backed China, leading to political unrest. Dalai Lama's asylum in India sparked debates. Despite CPI opposition, most political parties support uh, Islam. Nehru's Parliament of India's humanitarian plans, making a turning point in Indo-China relations. US-India-China relations in the Indian Oceans. China views India foreign policy as interference in Tibet and violations of Panchashil. Heated debates arose in parliament with socialist and right-wing factions supporting Soviet independence. Nehru preferred diplomatic solutions about confrontations.
आपने बीच का स्किप क्यों कर दिया?
Oh, हो गया ना. Parliamentary reaction to China's attack on Indian citizens in Tibet. Reports of Chinese mistreatment of Indian citizens in Tibet 1959 led to parliamentary condemnations. Nehru asserted diplomatic engagement, but opposition leaders demand a armistice. Border and dispute and military clash. By the late 1950s, border tension escalated. Indian MPs raised concern over Chinese incursions in new maps claiming Indian territories. The Pangong and Longju border incidents, July-August 1959, fueling parliamentary criticism of Nehru's diplomatic approach. The Colombo Plan and its reactions.
Rejection.
Rejection. Post 1962 war, the Colombo Plan sought a ceasefire, but Parliament
Ceasefire means ceasefire.
ceasefire.
Yes, it's called ceasefire.
Uh, ceasefire. But Parliament remained divided. Many MPs opposed it, fearing territorials, uh,
Territorials.
territorial compromise,
Compromises.
compromise, while Nehru defended it diplomatic value. Chinese
Rejections.
rejection in April 1963 further strengthened uh, ties. Chinese threat of any FA and Sino-Pakistani nexus. China's nuclear developments intensified border disputes leading to strong parliamentary oppositions. Meanwhile, China supported Pakistani's aggressions, signing the 1965 Sino-Pakistani Boundary Agreement, which India condemned. This period marked a critical shift in India's China policy, shaping future diplomatic and strategic decisions. Development of India-China relations 1960 to present period, global and regional comparisons of India and China. India and China, two of Asia's largest nations, play a significant role in shaping global economics, politics, and security. Their combined populations exceeds one third of the world's total, influencing regional and global trends. Both countries are major economic forces, technological hubs, and military powers whose stability and growth impact global trade, security, and diplomacy. While economic ties between the two nations are significant, geopolitical tensions persists, partic- particularly concerning border disputes and regional influence. Despite challenges, both nations engage in diplomatic and military dialogues to maintain stability. Strategic culture and foreign policy challenge. India's strategic culture. India's foreign policy has historically been criticized for a reactive rather than a
Criticized, nahi, criticized.
criticized for a reactive rather than a proactive approach. Uh, Strategic decision making in influenced by cultural and ideological tension rather than long-term
Ideological.
traditions rather than long-term planning. China, in contrast, follows a more consistent real political strategy, prioritizing national interest, economic expansion, and territorial integrity. Institutional weakness. India's foreign policy in hindered by weak institutional structures and bureaucratic inefficiencies. The National Security Council, established in 1999, struggles with effectiveness due to lack of strategic foresight. In contrast, China's centralized decision making allows for long term strategic planning and efficient policy implementation. China India controversy, uh, differing perspectives. India foreign policy thinkers are divided into three schools of thought: pragmatics, hyperrealistics, and eparsas. Pragmatics support diplomatic and economic cooperation while acknowledging China as a competitor. Hyperrealistics advocate for increased military spending and strategic countermeasures against China's growing influence. Epria's believe in peaceful engagement and diplomacy as the best approach to manage relations with China. India officially mentions a neutral stance but struggles with internal policy concerns thus on managing China power disparity. While India is a rising global power, it lags behind China in economic and military capabilities. Economic comparisons, China's GDP is significantly higher than India's, enabling greater investments in global markets and infrastructure. Military strength. India possesses the third largest military, but China surpasses it in defense budget, technological advancement, and global military influence. This disparity limits India's ability to project power regionally and internationally. Improved relation post 1998. India-China relations saw improvement after 1998, largely influenced by shift in U.S. foreign policy. The U.S. began strengthening ties with China, with led China to adjust its diplomatic approach. High-level diplomatic visits, economic cooperation, and the reopening of direct trade routes marked progress. Despite improvements, long-standing border tensions and strategic mistakes continue to shape relations. Border dispute and China's South Asian policy. Unresolved border disputes. The border conflict between India and China remains a significant obstacle to peaceful relations.
चिंटू जी,
Yes, yes, sir.
सबसे पहले आप अपनी थीसिस को अच्छे से पढ़िए
अच्छा,
और इंग्लिश को समझने की कोशिश कीजिए।
ओके सर।
आपका इंग्लिश का प्रोनाउंसिएशन बहुत ही ज़्यादा खराब है या आप उसे पढ़ नहीं पाते हैं।
अच्छा,
तो एक बार प्रॉपरली पूरा अपना थीसिस को पढ़िएगा, तो आपको
अच्छा,
जो कठिन शब्द हैं उनको अंडरलाइन करके प्रॉपरली गूगल की मदद से, जैसे अब आपको अनरिजॉल्व को आप अनरिजल्टेड पढ़ रहे हैं,
अच्छा,
ठीक है? तो
ओके
इस
सर।
तरह के जो शब्द हैं, इन शब्दों को सही पढ़ना ज़रूरी है।
अच्छा
और ये सब पढ़ पढ़ के मत बताइए।
अच्छा
ये बहुत ही क्लियर है, जैसे आपको ये पेज एक्सप्लेन करना था, बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट इन चाइना साउथ
हाँ
एशियन पॉलिसी। जब
हाँ
आप इसे एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं तो इंडिया हैज इट्स lots of problem or disputed in terms of its border with the China, and they are unresolved yet.
अच्छा
Likewise, the key areas are Askai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh area, where China claim that where Askai Chin is controlled by China and claim that it's it's not Indian territory, it's my territory. While in Arunachal Pradesh, that is controlled by India, but China claimed that it is my area. Okay. So
okay
both
okay
the countries in Askai Chin and in Arunachal Pradesh are claiming that the particular area is there. Okay. While
okay
they are working with a joint working group to resolve these things, they are making the special representative to talk and the little for this, and there is a little bit progress was there, but still there are lots of military and border area problem that always create the strain in their relationship. Now अब आपको अगली स्लाइड पे आ जाना है। समझ रहे, आप एक हिस्ट्री के छात्र हैं, एज
हाँ
ए स्टूडेंट ऑफ हिस्ट्री यू हैव टू बी कमांड ओवर द सब्जेक्ट, आपको उसको अपने टर्म्स में एक्सप्लेन करना है।
एक्सप्लेन करना है, सही बात है।
ठीक है, अब आप नेक्स्ट स्लाइड पे जाइए। Now the China South Asian strategy.
हाँ
What China think about the South Asia, and under South Asia, how we feel about the India. So as a relation with the India and other South Asian country, China want to dominate over the whole South Asia, while he is taking India as their challenge. He want to make a dominance over the South Asian country, and he or China always think that in the geopolitical reason India is always a competitor to him. Now the same with the India wants a very good and healthy relationship with its border partners as well as its other counterpart in the South Asia, while India have some difficult relationship with the Pakistan and other country like Bangladesh and other, and always China try to take an advantage of this. Okay, so you
ओके
have to explain like this on this slide. Next slide. The future outlook, किस तरीके से ये दोनों देश एक साथ ब्रिक्स में साथ में हैं या फिर किसी अलग अलग फोरम में साथ में हैं, वो आपको डिस्कस करना है। नेक्स्ट, तो आप, मेरा एक सजेशन है कि आप पहले कुछ भी करने से पहले एक बार अच्छे से पढ़िए, एक बार अच्छे से समझिए। आपका बेस पेपर गलत है, आपका लिटरेचर सर्वे के अंदर आपने गलत तरीके से रिप्रेजेंट किया है, उनको प्रॉपर तरीके से लिखिए और उसके बाद एक बार फिर से आप मॉक वाइवा के लिए आइए, पर प्रिपेयर्ड होके आइए कि आप कम से कम इंग्लिश बोलने में या पढ़ने में गलती ना करें।
ओके सर।
If you want to explain the things in Hindi, that will be welcome, but proper तरीके से उसका explanation होना चाहिए। You just take the reference of your slide. आपको पता होना चाहिए आपके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ स्टडी क्या है, आपने अपने ऑब्जेक्टिव्स कैसे बनाए, आपने अपना रिसर्च गैप कैसे बनाया, ये सारी चीजें आपको पता होनी चाहिए। इफ यू डोंट हैव दिस आइडिया, देन इन दैट पर्टिकुलर केस यू विल ऑलवेज सफर। ओके, तो आपको इस पर्पस के लिए आपको क्या करना है, आपको सिंपल सा अपना प्रिपरेशन करनी है, दैट्स इट। ओके
ओके सर।
तो आप प्रिपेयर कीजिए, एक बार आप अच्छे से पढ़ेंगे सब कुछ हो जाएगा।
ठीक है सर।
ओके, ऑल द वेरी बेस्ट।
हाँ सर, और एक बात है, मेरा तो फाइनल वाइवा तो आ चुका है 26 मार्च का।
हाँ, तो 26 मार्च से पहले आपके पास 5 दिन का समय है। 5 दिन में अच्छे से पढ़िए, 4-5 बार रिवाइज कीजिए, आपको अच्छे से बोलते बन जाएगा।
ओके सर, ओके सर। मैं स्लाइड को पढ़ूं और मेरा अनुश्रम का जो क्वेश्चन आंसर है मेरा पास वो भी पढ़ूं।
पढ़िए, अनुश्रम का स्लाइड को भी पढ़िए, अपनी इंग्लिश भी इम्प्रूव करने की कोशिश कीजिए।
और क्या करो, समरी पढ़ूं?
समरी बिल्कुल पढ़िए। आप जितना पढ़ोगे ना उतना कॉन्फिडेंस आएगा।
ओके सर, ठीक है,
ओके,
थैंक
डन।
यू,
ऑल द
सर।
वेरी बेस्ट।
ओके, थैंक यू सर।